Okay, so welcome everybody to how to gain more clients, more coaching clients. And I'm offering this webinar just to showcase something I've developed over the years. And it's been quite exciting because other coaches are now using it and gaining business from it. So I kind of want to put the word out there, but, oh, hi, Alan. Hi, nice to see your face. So we've got Alan, Marissa, and Reg so far. Expecting a few more, but as and when they can pop in, and we'll say hello to them. So should we do quick introductions first so that we all know who we've got here? So Reg, do you want to kick off just a couple of minutes about, you know, what kind of coaching you do, what your sort of background is?
Hi, good evening. My name is Reg Goslin. I am a coach, obviously, but I have a niche in careers. What I do is I've only been doing it properly or professionally since June. So what I'm doing at the moment is spending my time getting my name out there, my brand out there. It's a two-pronged approach. And in doing so, I'm also trying to do group sessions, pretty much like what you're doing here, but in a way that gets people in front of me as well. So the end of the game is to secure clients from that. My background is sales. I thought it'd be a bit too cliche to be a sales coach because at the end of the day, that's just a sales manager with a badge on. But I can do that. I have a little program sitting in the background that I haven't fully launched. I've done bits of it, but it's called Improving Performance, but it's the Virtual Sales Manager. So I'm just helping people that are in business that don't necessarily have a specific sales structure or sales approach. I can help them with that as well. So really it's about the careers and different aspects of it that I'm working on at the moment with people.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks, Reg. So Marissa, do you want to go next? Just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Marissa Bussey. I'm from the Organised Business. We're quite a new business. We're running part-time. I've got a business partner who runs an accounting practice and has been coaching clients for quite a long time. And I'm actually not, obviously, I'm not a coach. I'm not a professional coach. It's something I'd quite like to get into the future. But my role in the business tends to be about writing systems, creating new products and developing them. And he does more coaching work with clients. We provide consultancy, training and support. We facilitate a peer-to-peer support group. We just need to do that perhaps with more of a coaching style to get the best results for our clients. And then we met you. So I thought maybe we'll find out a little bit more about the Clarity Cards and how perhaps they could help us moving forward.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Marissa. And Alan, do you want to say what kind of coaching you've been doing?
Yes, actually, I do executive coaching, helping people to get some goals and sales, for example, and some basic. Yes, let me think. Sorry for my English because
That's okay.
I have to practice more. But,
yeah,
it's more like coaching by the results. Coaching executive in the bank. With the people I work, coaching to get results or objectives.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes it's a little coaching life, but it's more like executive.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you for that. So a little bit about me. I've been coaching now for 15 years. I qualified as a coach back in 2005. And I've mainly been coaching small business owners, but I've also done team coaching in organisations as well. And, you know, my biggest client, which I'm quite proud of, was the NHS. So that was coaching junior doctors for quite a while. It's been quite varied, but I did struggle sometimes to get into organisations. When you're trying to get your foot in the door, you're trying to get those appointments, and then when you're trying to actually say what you do and what the benefits were. So that's how I came to produce the Clarity Cards. And it started off a couple of years ago. I was going into a client, and it was the general manager of a hotel. And I felt like I had to prepare for it a little bit more. He was actually French speaking, so that's probably why I was thinking that. I thought there might be a bit of a language barrier, but I think that was more myself what I thought about that really, rather than a problem with him. So what I did was I sat down and thought, well, how can I showcase sort of what I do as a coach quickly? And I didn't want to get into that whole, oh yeah, that's lovely what you do, can you now send us a proposal in? Because I don't know if you've been through that route where you spend hours doing a proposal and you kind of know it's not going to come to anything. You spend hours, and it's a kind of a delaying mechanism sometimes, I think, from people, where they don't want to say no, but they don't want to say yes. So it's like, can you put it all in writing? I kind of wanted to bypass that a little bit. So what I did was I sat down and thought about what I did in terms of workshops, because I knew he wanted something for his staff. So he'd got a team of managers. There was problems, but he didn't quite tell me what was going on. So I thought, well, I'll look at what workshops I do and see what the benefits were, because I know, salespeople, and you'll agree with me, Reg, on this, it's selling the benefits. It's not exactly selling what you do. It's what they'll get out of it that is crucial. So I looked at all the feedback I'd got. So I looked at my website, my LinkedIn profile, and I picked out all the words that kind of cropped up a lot about what people had said about my workshops. And I ended up with a spreadsheet. And this is the original spreadsheet. So I listed down the workshops I provided, and I put all the key words that came up in my testimonials. And I went in with this form to this manager. And as he was, we had the start of the conversation, and I'm asking him, what are the problems? What's happening? What do you want to improve? What would you prefer to see happening? And he says a couple of the key words. So I get my highlighter pen out and I start highlighting some of the words. And after a little while, he realizes what I'm doing, and he takes it off. He said, "Oh, give that here. Give me the highlighter. I can do this." And he starts highlighting the words himself. And I thought, well, that was interesting. So he said, "Oh, yes, and this is the workshop I want you to run for me." And that was it. It's kind of like no proposal. No, I've got to go away and think about it. So immediately he got what he'd get from my workshop, even without me telling him what the workshop was, which I thought was fascinating. So, I'd have probably otherwise thought, well, I do this in a workshop and I do that. But he just obviously wanted to know what the benefits were. So I did run that workshop for his team. Went very well, got some really good feedback. A month later, I went in to see the operations director of a completely different organisation. It was a recruitment agency. I'd met the ops director at a seminar. Again, she was saying she'd got staff problems, but didn't quite know how to tell me what they were. And I thought, well, I'll take the sheet in again. I'll take a blank one in. But I was more upfront this time, so I actually gave her the sheet after initial conversation, obviously. I said, right, you highlight what you need. So she did, and she said, right, I want you to run 2 workshops. And that was it. No proposal, and I was straight in there and did the workshops. And I thought, well, I can't believe that happened twice. That was so easy. Am I kind of onto something? So a couple of months later, I went to the coaching group that I attend in London, and we often share techniques and things that we do to help each other out and support each other. And I just shared this as a technique, and I said, look, I've got some business really easy doing this. Have you seen anything like this before? And he said, well, no, can you share this with us? And I said, well, obviously I've done this for myself. I'd have to make it quite generic for you to be able to use. And I said, well, if you help me do that, I'll do it. And we came up with the clarity cards. I know, Reg, you've seen them, but the words in my spreadsheet now are 115 words on a card, 115 cards, each with a different one of these benefits. And the system I came up with related to my workshops, so I'd know how to use them, but I've made them generic, and I got other coaches to start using them to give me some feedback. And they seem to be working for other people. And I'm quite sort of staggered that they are working, but something I devised for myself is now helping other coaches. So I kind of wanted to get the word out there, hence I'm doing these webinars and I'm running workshops now, training coaches to use them. But I wanted to kind of showcase how they work with some scenarios. And then I thought, if you've got some scenarios yourself that you're wanting help with, I can work through those and see what we come up with. So shall I show you a couple of these scenarios to start with? So obviously I've talked about team coaching, and I know, Reg, for you that's relevant. Marissa and Alan, is that relevant to you, or would you be looking more at individual coaching?
No, more individual for us.
Yeah, okay. And how about you, Alan? Would it be more individual or both?
Yes, it's more individual.
More individual, yeah.
So
Okay.
sometimes in the bank we prepare for some groups, but it's occasionally it's more like one-on-one.
One-on-one, yeah, okay. So the reason I devised the cards was to get into organisations to do team coaching, but actually I've started using them with my one-to-one clients as well, and they work really well. And they work on lots of different levels. So I've got some really good feedback around action planning, about beliefs about themselves, about commitment. So they really work well on an individual basis as well. So, and I've devised them for that reason. So you can do them for team coaching and individual. So if I share a few scenarios, first of all, of how it's worked for an individual, I think that's probably more relevant to all of you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen in a second. And we just find where the first one is. With me, I had all these up, and now they've let's see, right, yeah, okay, let me just share this with you. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is using the cards, and so this is on an individual basis, and this was a female HR director. And these are the words she picked. So in a coaching session on a one-to-one basis, you'd sit down with somebody after initial conversation about, you know, what it was they were wanting to achieve, what was going on, what's the issues for them. You then get them to go through the cards, and you can either go through the whole pack or you can use a subset. And I've tested this a lot of times now, and even just a subset of 40 or 50 cards works as well. So on this occasion, it was a subset of about 50 cards. So she's only chosen a few cards. But as you can see, the cards that she's chosen, there's a lot of green dots, and the colours are significant. I'll explain what the colours mean in a minute. So here we've got green, and we've got a few red. So the two main colours are green and red in this case. So what the green denotes, and this is based on when I went back at the beginning about the benefits. So this is based on the feedback that people got from this particular type of coaching. So when I did one-to-one sessions, this is what most people fed back that it was mostly helpful about. So things like being overwhelmed, you know, a team session wouldn't really help with that. It's probably a more to one basis. So some of these are quite personal. Obviously a sounding board, you need to do that on a one-to-one basis. So this indicated to this HR director that she did need one-to-one coaching to help with this, and it was a transition into a new director role. But what was interesting was...
Karen, excuse me.
Yeah.
One question. I don't know if for you. Well, these cards, the coachee select by random or
no, they pick. Sorry, I should have explained that. No, they actually pick the words. So
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So you
select by the words.
Yeah, so they don't even notice the colours. Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that a bit more. So when you're in a one-to-one coaching session, you're getting them to pick the words that are relevant to them. And in some cases, it might be that they're negative or they're positive. So, for example, frustration, obviously going to be a negative word, but it's what they want to change. So if it's a word that means they want to change it, either have more of it or less of it, then that's what they pick, and they discard the rest. So what they're left with is a few cards that they want to work on effectively. So this person wanted to be able to work on their delegation skills. They wanted to have business growth because that was part of their business objectives. They also felt like they needed a bit of a sounding board. So all these were relevant. So on the red side, the red dots, this was about self-belief they picked, acceptance and valued. And that was about feeling valued. Sometimes you just need to check in with the client what the word actually means for them, because some could be misinterpreted. So, be clear about what that word means for them. So as part of a coaching session, you'd probably go through and just check what they mean. So this was about being valued in the team. So you immediately know what this person needs to work on. So in a one-to-one coaching session, you can then say, right, so this is mostly about your self-worth and your own confidence in your abilities and your own viewpoint of yourself. So what you'd work on is that person's confidence and get them build up their self-belief that they can actually do the job. So you'd work on sort of past experiences, what's been good about what they've done in a role, and build up their confidence that way. But what it does is it shows what the first thing to work on. I mean, you'd probably work on everything, but you'd work on the things that actually highlighted the most. So I'm only going to whiz through these because I do want to show you quite a bit. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And find it. So the next one again is for individual. And again, this person actually did go through quite a lot of the pack, but she didn't pick a lot. And the secret with this is to make sure the coaching question you ask is quite specific. If you open it up and say, right, what do you want to achieve over the next year? Everyone's, people are going to pick a lot of cards, but it's being quite specific and being deadline driven as well, if you can. So it's about what they want to achieve within a certain time frame. So I think for this person, she explained what the issue was and said, I want to feel differently about it within a month. So it's either feeling differently about it or an actual action that they want to something measurable to achieve. So generally I'd use like a month or 3 months at most. I found that if you open it up to 6 months, then they start choosing too many cards. So the narrower and the more focused you can be, the better. And with this person, again, they picked out some greens, which again highlights one-to-one coaching would definitely help them. And then the mauves. So this person got 4 mauves. The mauves, so all the colours indicate a different area of coaching. Mauves is about values. And as soon as I fed that back to this person, even though I only knew, a brief synopsis of what the issue was, the fact that it was all mauve, I could tell her, well, this is about your values being at odds with what you're trying to do. And it immediately became clear to her, yeah, that is what actually is going on. And I hadn't realised it. So the people I'm working for, their values aren't aligned to mine, and it really means I've probably got to stop working with them. So it gave her an immediate sort of information about what she could do. So what I found is using the cards in this way, it gives people an immediate action, an immediate response, so they know what to do next. But any questions about these, let me know as we go through them.
I'm not sure if it changed on my screen.
Say that again?
I'm not sure the picture's changed on my screen. It might have done.
Okay.
It's look like the same ones. I think it's still the green and red.
Oh, is it? Okay, I might have to go back in and share that again then. Right.
I've only got 2 mauves on my screen.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I think I've got to share them individually then, haven't I? Right, let me go back into... Yeah, hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
It's all learning.
I've done this before, but yeah. Oh, I think I've probably got to stop sharing this and then reshare. Yeah, okay, I can see what's happening now. Right, so I'm on the right one now, so I can share it. I haven't found an easy way of doing this yet, so okay, so that should be greens and mauves. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just see if I can get to the next one then. Right, so this one, this person chose a lot. Right, can you see a lot of cards on your screen? Has it changed?
No, you're going to have to come out and go
I'm
back
going to have to
again.
go back in and do it again. Right, okay.
How many cards in a pack in total?
115.
115.
So there is a lot, and in some cases there's some there's words that are very similar. So we've got things like planning, planned, plan, action plan, because that sometimes means something different to people. So they won't necessarily choose all of them. They'll just choose maybe action plan or planning because it'll mean something different. So can you see a lot of cards in front of you now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost too many. Yeah. So again, this was a one-to-one session, and yes, she did. And I'm going to show you how we get around this, because obviously, if you've only got a small area that you're doing with this, you've not got a lot of space. So this was an issue, and you can see where it's mostly reds. There's a lot of reds, and I've just picked this out because it's an easy one to get across to you. So obviously there's a mix of other colours, and when you're laying these out, you're putting them where most colours are together. So you put all the greens together and all your purples together. You put your reds and your pinks together. So you kind of line them up, but there is another way of doing this, and I'll show you on the next screen. So again, this was a lot of reds, as you can see, and this was a client that had an issue with her client about some work she'd produced. And she didn't tell me a lot about it up front. We just had a quick chat about it. But once I fed back about the red being about self-worth and acceptance, she immediately realised what was really going on for her and how it affected her. And she knew immediately then what she had to do. So there was an immediate reaction, and she came up with an action plan straight away. So in some cases, this can happen very quickly. In one of these scenarios, it took 6 minutes to actually for that person to reach a conclusion of what they needed to do. You know, it can be that quick. So you kind of cut into the chase quite quickly. So I said I was going to share another way. So that, keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you a slide now, which will have exactly these cards on it. You'll see how it looks different. So that's exactly the same cards, but as you can see, once the person's chosen the cards, and I get them to read out the name, or I put the name, the word as I'm putting them down. But once you've done that, you've kind of done that job. So as a coach, then you're looking at the colours, because then that denotes what type of coaching they need. So the set you've just seen, that's exactly the same cards, but I've just ordered them so you can just see the colours. So you don't actually need to see all the words. So you can see that there's a whole load of greens there, and you can see there quite clearly now all those reds and all those mauves. So it's a lot clearer to see the colours then, and that's the bit you're feeding back to the client.
Karen.
Yeah.
And for example, the first word is the client. Does that give, for example, achievement, communication? This is the first word, and he put all the other words in that position.
No, it's down to you to put. So the coach would put the words in the position. So
okay.
all the client is doing is 2 piles. So you're saying, right, the words you want to keep because you want to make changes to them. You either want more or less of those. The others just discard. So they're only coming up with a pile, and then while they're choosing the rest, you then start to put them in colour order. It takes a bit of practice. Obviously, I've been doing this quite a while now, so I'm very quick at doing it. I know, Reg, you've been using them a little while now. Have you found it easier as you get more into it?
Yeah, of course. What I do is the same sort of thing that you do there. I tried the first time I did it with all of the cards, and the second time I used like half of the cards. And in doing so, I was able to go with the colours and picking the colours out that way to make it work for me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because sometimes you don't have enough time to go through all the words.
No.
In a one-to-one session where I usually do 90 minutes for a client, then I will go through the whole pack.
Yeah.
Because then you can use it as a review tool, and I'll show you the review tool in a little while about how you can use that. Okay. So that's the individual side. I'm now going to just show you a couple of examples of the team one, just for completeness.
Karen, perfectly, I can use these cards in a workshop, for example, right?
Yeah, I think you could. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the way I use these, so the two examples I'm showing you now, this was with a decision maker in an organisation. So this was based on what that person wanted for their team. Now, I think the way this could work for individuals coming up with what they need for a team is to do a one-on-one, and you could do it very quickly. So 10, 15 minutes with each person, and then come up with a group feedback. And I'll show you the tool that I use to do that. So for this one, there was mostly purples, and the purples relates to behaviours. So I was able to put together a 3-hour workshop around behaviours. I have a specific tool that I use for that. The idea of the colours isn't that you're telling them what they need, it's adapting it to your coaching style. So where I would use the purple, I would use motivational drivers because I've been trained to use that. It's something I've used a lot, so I'm familiar with it. Different coaches will have different things that they use for, motivational drivers or communication skills or influencing skills. So this is your ability then is to adapt to use this as a kind of an add-on tool, if you like. So it doesn't stop you using what you already use. It's just highlighting what you can use. Okay, you with that one. So so I did a 3-hour workshop on motivational drivers for this particular client. And then the last one I'll show you on this. This looks as though I've staged it, but I really haven't. It's just the way it came out, and it was quite spooky when it happened because this person only chose 2 colours. So can you all see that? So it's yellow and orange. The orange isn't very bright on here, but it was all yellow and all orange, and an exact balance of the 2 colours. But from that, I could tell that they needed something around value, the mission statement. And obviously picking out missions. Yeah.
Karen, but in this case, in this example, the person choose the words, right?
They chose the words, so they don't know anything about the colours.
Don't know. Okay, the colours only know the coach, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. And feedback I've got from people is quite interesting because people almost go into a zone with this and use it on a subconscious level. And then when I'm feeding back, oh, you got mostly reds or mostly purple, they say, oh, I didn't even notice they had colours on the cards. So that's been quite interesting. That's happened a few times. So their awareness of the colours isn't there because it's meaningless to them. But this is all about you diagnosing it. Yeah. Okay. So any questions on that so far?
I want to know how you can send me to Costa Rica. How much cost me the shipping? The shipping. uh, it's very good, and I like it because I work with my clients in very things visuals. For example, in Spain, I can get it's a different. I really like this. Is a different. It's called the coaching game, and it's cards with a words and an image, a picture, and you can see and you can create. In the session is similar but different.
Yeah.
And I really like this because the words right here is very focused. For example, I see these words: action plan, company mission, and I really think I can use in my department or in my work.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So let me just stop that then. So starting with you, Marissa, is there anything you think that, you know, it's kind of a scenario of yourself where you're trying to get into a client or uses of the cards? Anything you...
Yeah, I'm thinking of a particular client actually that that we've had a relationship with for a long time, but not actually doing coaching. It's been more from my colleague's accounting side of things, and he's got problems with his team, lots of frustration and conflict and lack of vision, and we keep going there. And I think he knows there's a lot of work to do. He always feels busy, but perhaps if we went to him with something a little bit more direct, so he can choose perhaps the things that I think the fact that you've called these a clarity card really makes sense to me, because it through selecting what the problems are, it creates clarity, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that might be something that's quite useful, because it's all very well going to someone and say, oh, we can help you with this, we can help you with that, but if they're telling you exactly then what they want help with,
well, that's
maybe that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, the feedback I've got is it kind of puts them in charge of it.
No, and that's maybe what's needed in this particular case, because it's one thing saying I've got a problem, it's articulating that and then knowing specifically how that can work. But okay. And I definitely see the value in it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I know, Reg, you're using them a lot, and particularly with young people, aren't you?
Yeah, I think where I've got a specific challenge, and this is why this came into sharp focus for me, is that working with individuals one-to-one, they are perfect. It's not an issue. It's not a challenge. For me, it just cuts down the goal-setting time that you spend with the client. But where it comes into its own is when you have, for example, a business owner that says, okay, I'd like you to work with my team. Yep. So that owner who's bought into your programs, fantastic. But his people, not so much. Not that they're not interested, but they're not the owner's the sponsor of the program, and the young people are in there thinking, yeah, I'm getting some personal development. What's all that about? Yeah. So you say, right, you're going to come in. You need to come in with a focus area or a goal, and they're like, I haven't got any. I said, of course you have. So what we do is I say, I'll tell you what, we'll go through this, and I'll point out to you where your immediate short term, and Karen's absolutely right, it's more about the short term, not the long term. They've all got, they if you ask them, they all say, yes, long term I'd like to have a house, long term I'd like to do this, long term I'd like to do that. But then I'll say, well, okay, but if you were going to do that and it's taking 2 years or it's a year away, what small thing could you do today to help you to get onto the road to delivering that or to achieving that? And they're like, well, I don't know. And then you have the conversations and keep it simple. But for the short-term goals, for the period that you're working with them for 2 to 3 months, these cards, you just put in front of them and say, okay, I'll tell you what, just pick the ones that jump out at you, the words. Some of the words you have to explain to some of them, because frighteningly, some of these kids don't know the words. But you go through that with them, and then you pick out in the same way that Karen's just demonstrated in all 3 areas. You say to them, right, you notice there's a predominant amount of yellow cards, there's a predominant amount of green cards, there's a predominant amount of blue, and then you go through it. Then I have to go back and obviously look at the sheet that I've got and try and memorize it, but it helps me to say, right, these are the areas that you've said that you want to focus on, so let's work on what that means to you and what you can do in the short term. And that's how it's worked for me.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just briefly, I won't go and share it because I've got to find it, but there is a sheet and with the cards that tell you what the colours actually mean. So it tells you the sort of the kind of the highlight words, and then a bit of blurb to actually tell the client, yeah, this is what's going on for you and this is what this means. So the 9 colours pinpoint an area of coaching, and I've worked with coaches to test these, and most coaches work with all those 9 areas. So the things like behaviours, values, action planning, growth, encouragement, confidence building, dealing with fears and acceptance. So they seem to be the 9 key areas, and most coaches will have some kind of techniques and models to use with those areas. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing I was going to show you was the review tool for team coaching. Is that going to be of interest to any of you?
I've never done team coaching as in a room. I know it's possible. I've never attempted it though, to be fair. But
yeah, no, okay. So I'll show you something that, I mean, the way I'm using this at the moment is to gather information from teams to go back to a decision maker to say, because like what you said, Reg, about people being on board when you go into an organisation, people are sent to you for coaching, and it's getting that buy-in. If you go in and actually have 15 minutes, half an hour clarity session with people, you then can form an opinion to go back to the decision maker and say, right, this is what your teams are saying they want. You can feed back anonymously, plus you've got that team's buy-in, which if the organisation's trying to get, more employee engagement, that's quite a key factor. So I'll show you how I'm doing this. Again, I'm going to have to share. Okay, so you should see a spreadsheet in front of you. And what I've done is I've just put some dummy names in here. So these aren't real people, obviously. But this is a review tool that comes with the cards. So as you can see, the 9 colours are down the side. The keywords of the areas that the colours denote are in there as well. So this kind of gives you a bit of a help as well. So when you're going and looking at teams, so say you've got a team of 5 people like here, you're then running through the whole pack with them. Otherwise, I don't think it would work. I think you'd have to run through the whole pack, even if it's quickly. So then what I'm doing with this is instead of counting them at the time, which would take a long time, I'm taking a snapshot of what they've put on the table. So I've laid it out, look at the colours, but then take a picture with my phone. And then once I get home, I'm able to analyse it. Right, there's 9 purples and there's 5 mauves and there's 1 blue. There's no aqua. Put that into here, and then that feeds into the pie charts. Can you see the pie chart, or shall I have to share that? Can you see the pie chart? Yeah, you can see that. That's fine. Yes. So this gives, when you go back to the decision maker, this gives a snapshot then of what the team as a whole need. So if you go back to the feedback, I mean, obviously I've just put random numbers in here to show you, but I put 9s in for purple so that you'd see purple coming out as the highest, but then I've just randomly put in numbers for the other areas. So you can see here that purple's come out with the largest, and then the key at the bottom is, well, that's around awareness and behaviours and motivation. So it gives your decision maker a snapshot straight away of what your team needs as a whole. But it's also anonymizing it, so you could feed it back without the names on, obviously. That would be for your own use. But you just feed this back to them to say, right, so 32% of the team, it needs work on behaviours. And then maybe we do something about values as well. So this enables you to put something together that would cover those two areas. I've actually had a stockbroker in London who's quite analytical, really like this. The fact that it gives it very quickly and clearly, it demonstrates what that team needs. So I've just got that as a kind of an add-on tool, if that's useful. So,
where do we get that specific tool? I've not seen that before. It's a good one.
Oh, well, I'll send it to you, Reg.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay. I did put it in our LinkedIn group. Obviously, you didn't see it. So, yeah, I'll send it you.
If it's in a LinkedIn, I'll pick it from there. So, don't worry, I can get it from there.
Well, I'll have to send you the spreadsheet because it's in Excel. So I'll send you the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I just popped a picture in the LinkedIn group. Yeah, I can send that to you. Okay. So, so that's kind of all I was going to show you. I've been through the scenarios, and any questions on that or? Okay.
Everything good.
Yeah, okay. So unless there's any questions, I'm just going to end on what I was going to offer as part of this webinar. Obviously, what I'm doing at the moment is gathering people's feedback, and as many coaches as I can get using this as a product and feedback that I can get back, which is starting to work now. I've got coaches all over the country now using this, and potential client in Costa Rica.
Yes. I can promote your tool, your cards are very awesome, really.
Yeah.
I just want to know, can I buy it by your link, by your website?
Yeah, so what I'm doing, so I am doing training courses, but obviously I'm doing them in the UK. So my next one will be in London in December. I know if you're in Costa Rica, that's probably a bit far to come. But I'm also doing it as an online tutorial as well. So Alan, if you want to do that, I can send you details. We can do a Zoom call, and I can take you through, if your own individual needs, if you'd like to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I really want to know how to get the cards, and I
brilliant.
the feedback to learn more, because I really think it's the great value for my position and my work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So, if there's no more questions, we can wrap it up there if you like. You can go and get your dinner, Alan.
I really want to lunch, and you want to dinner.
Yeah, we'll have our dinner. Yeah, yes. You have your lunch. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Marisa and regularly, thank you. I'm really pleased to meet you. The other side of the world, but
yeah,
but
good.
I really want to be here and learning a lot of these tools.
Brilliant.
And thank you to you, Karen. I think you got a really good product.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'll be in touch, Alan, and thanks, Marissa and Reg, for joining us as well. And see you soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good